your distress cost, your value of the leverage firm, and the unleveraged firm, the WACC calculation, and how do you do it? Uh, Overall, like before we start the question, what is important to understand is that when you see a question like this, right, what will come in front of you in some time, you have to understand that you have to look at whether cash flow is stable or volatile, right? You have to look at the firm is early stage, mature, or growth stage. Are the assets tangible or intangible? Is the economy booming or kind of in stress environment, right? So you have to do all this analysis, then only you will be able to come at whether the WACC will be high or less, right? So let's do the question that will give you more idea. A financial analyst is evaluating the capital structure of your Boulder Inc., a US-based unleveraged firm with a constant cash flow of 6 million per year before taxes, right? So unleveraged, that's a good thing. Constant cash flow of 6 million per year before taxes. The firm has a market value of $45 million and corporate tax rate of 30%. That's also okay. Volvo plans to issue 15 million debt to retire an equivalent amount of equity. That's also okay. The debt will have a cost of 5.5%. The financial analysts note that the tax shield advantage of debt is offset due to the risk of financial distress. He estimates the present value of the cost of financial distress at various debt level as follows, right? So he's calculated the present value of the cost of financial distress. That's good, right? We'll talk about it. Just give me a second. I just want to read the full question, right? Okay, then we have the question, right? So let's try to first understand the question, right? That's the whole idea. See, it's a unleveraged firm. First of all, that's very important point to note. Unleveraged firm means that the firm does not have any kind of your what you say debt, right? It is all equity, right? Then it is saying that it has your 6 million per year before taxes, right? That is your pre-tax cash flow, and that is constant, that is perpetual, so that is also great. Then the corporate tax rate is 30%. Market value for the unlevered firm is 45 million. Proposed debt is 15 million. Cost of debt is 5.5%. You have to look at the present value of financial distress cost, depend on debt level, which the table is given. So again, this is a typical kind of question. This is actually dependent on a Modigliani-Miller equation, which will come ahead with taxes and that distress cost. But we are not going there. First idea is that if you look at the question, right, if you try to solve the question, the WACC of the unleveraged firm prior to the debt issue is closest to what? See, if the firm is unleveraged, means there is no debt. It means the whole cost is cost of equity. What's the cost of equity, right? When we look at your cost of equity, simple point is that you look at your after-tax cash flow, right? You look at your after-tax cash flow, right? After-tax cash flow is your, see, 6 lakhs is pre-tax cash flow. You have to take it after tax, right? So how do you make it after tax? 6 into your 1 minus your 0.3, right? Because you have to take out the tax. 0.3 is basically 1 minus 0.3 is your 0.7, right? 1 minus 0.3 is 0.7, right? So it brings out to, it makes it 4.2. So 4.2 is the after-tax cash flow. Now, if I have to take it, your, what do you say, cost of equity, right? So basically, idea here is you are making 4.2 and market value is 45, right? 4.2 divided by your 45, right? That's the whole idea. Because you are basically cost of equity, right? You are making 4.2 cash flow on $45 million of market value, right? So this is your rate of for equity, which is 9.33%, right? So very straightforward. Please keep in mind that we will not take any debt here because it's a unleveraged firm, right? Had it been a leveraged firm, then I had to do every calculation using debt also. But here I'm just sticking to your equity part, so that's making my question pretty straightforward and easy, right? So remember that, right? Okay. So that's one part. All right. And next part here is the use of the 15 million of debt financing, right? The use of 15 million of debt finances increases the value of Boulder by dash over its unlevered value. Ignore the cost of financial distress, right? See, even though we have not done it right now, but then it will follow ahead, right? What I want to add here is that in such kind of thing, right, there's the equation, right, which will come ahead. That is, whenever you have to find the value of the levered firm, you have to take value of unlevered, right? VU, value of levered or value of leverage firm, right? Levered or leverage, whatever you can call it, right, is equal to your value of unleveraged firm plus your TD. Right, remember this will come ahead, right? Value of leverage firm, because you are taking 50 million debt. Earlier you were unleveraged. Now you are getting into leverage. So value of leverage is equal to value of unleveraged into T into D, right? So the increase in value you are getting is simply T into D, right? So what is the T? T is 0.30, D is your debt, right? So T is the tax rate, whatever you have, 0.30, and tax rate and debt is what? Debt, how much we are taking? 15 million, right? So 0.30 into 15 you are doing, that is the increase in value. So that is 4.5, right? So keep that in mind, 0.15, that is equal to 4.5, right? So this is what you are getting. So these two are done. Including the present value of the cost of distress. Now we have to go and see the table. The value of Boulder is closest to what? Now, again, when somebody in the above question is saying ignore it, so we are not taking, but if we have to consider this thing, VU, value of, if we have to consider the table, right? So the formula changes into VU plus TD minus your PV, your distress cost. Okay, so now you VU is already given. VU is given 45. This is also given 4.5. Now I only have to see PV of distress cost, right? So PV of distress cost, if I go in the previous one, right? PV of distress cost for 15 million, this one 15 million, because he's taking a debt of 15 million. So 15 million, the distress cost is 0.5, right? So you have to subtract 0.5, right? So 45 plus 4.5 minus 0.5, right? So remember this point. Again, this formula has not been taught to you till now, but again, we are doing in question. That's great. And this will come ahead also in your Modigliani theorem, right? Modigliani-Miller theorem, you will see ahead. So remember that, right? So these are small twists and turns, right? Your distress cost is your 0.5, right? 0.5 according to the table, right? So you have to put 0.5 according to the table. Once you put 0.5 according to the table, right, the answer comes as 49. Okay, so this is 49. You need to keep in mind, right? So three questions are done. You should know how to calculate the WACC of the unleveraged firm, how you can know how to use and ignore the cost of financial distress, and how to value the Boulder, right? That you have to do. Okay. The next one, right? Next one, uh, you know, the next one is the level of debt, right? That will maximize the value of Boulder Inc., right? The level of debt that will maximize the Boulder Inc. is closest to what? Now, this is a little tricky one, because here we are looking at what is that optimal, debt structure comprising of your equity and debt that we should have, that the firm value is maximized. Look, we are not talking about whether the debt value is maximized. We are talking about how the firm value is maximized, right? Bouldering value is maximized, right? So again, you have to rely on table, because now you are somewhere aware that VL is equal to VU, plus you are aware that T is given already because T is the tax rate. So T is your 30%, 0.3. and D is also given. So 0.3 into D, right? Into PV into distress, right? So you have to see that where my distress value is least, right? So if you, and in fact, not distress value least, you have to actually put all values, right? You have to do for all values, right? You have to kind of calculate for everyone, right? So uh, see, VU will always be constant. This will be 45, but D value will change, right? When you will have, let's say, in the first case, you talk about debt is 5 million, right? If you talk about debt is 5 million, so zero point 0.3 into 5, but that time distress is only 0.1. So 0.3 into 5, right, minus 0.1. This value is given in table, right? So 0.3 into 5 and minus your 0.1, right? 0.1 is given in your table, right? So you have to do for all kind of debt, right? All kind of debt. This is first case, right? Then you do for the next case again 45, right? 45 plus your what do you say 0.3 into 10, right? 45 into 0.3 into 10, right? So you calculate the value for all the debt, right? 45 plus zero point 0.3 into 10, right? Or 0.2 is the test rate, right? So do it for all, right? Once you do it for all, then you will realize that for a debt level of 20 million, you get the least value, which will be 49.5, which will get the maximum value, which is 49.5, right? So try for best ways you do for 15, 20, 30. Three options to test all these, right? 0.3 into 15, and then look at the value, what is the PV distress from the table. 0.3 into 20, look at the value, what is from the distress table. 0.3 into your 30, look at the value from the distress table, right? So look at all those things, right? And solve it, take it as a homework. But idea is very clear that you have to follow the particular equation, right? So this is the whole solution given, right? You can see the solution, right? This is the calculation I was telling you, right? You have to do 49, 49.5, 46, right? You did all the calculation. Optimal amount of debt is 20 million, which maximize the value, right? So VU plus TD minus PV cost of financial distress. See all the value, D value from table, and 5.1, 10.2, 15.5, 20.1.5, 25, 6, 30, 12. So in plus of D, you put these values. PV cost of distress, you put this value and calculate the final thing. All right, this is the question we have to focus on now. A financial analyst is evaluating the capital structure of Plovering, a European-based unleveraged firm. Again, it means that the company does not have any kind of leverage, any kind of debt, right? With a constant perpetual cash flow of euro 10 million per year before taxes, right? So fine, okay. So cash flow is perpetual. Amount is also given euro 10 million and before taxes. So you might have to calculate after taxes, right? Keep that in mind. The firm has a market value of euro 100 million. That's okay. Corporate tax rate 20%. That's also okay. Flower plans to issue euro 35 million in debt to retire an equivalent amount of equity. So raising debt to retire equity. So the size of the firm will remain unchanged, right? The debt will have a cost of 4.5%. Assume the cost of financial distress is close to zero, right? After the debt issuance and changing the capital structure, Plover's WACC is closest to what, right? Again, little tricky. You have to understand the data has been given to you. The pre-tax cash flow given to you is $10 million, right? Pre-tax cash flow given to you is $10 million. That's fine, right? And it's a perpetual cash flow. The tax rate given to you is 20%, perfectly fine. Unleveraged firm is there. So, and the market value is 100 million. That also, you know that. The debt issued is 35 million. That also is given. Cost of debt is 4.5. That also is given. And distress cost has not been mentioned, right? And close to zero, right? So that's also, they're not given table. They're mentioned very clearly. The distress cost is close to zero, right? So that's also a good thing to know. Now, first of all, in such kind of question, you always start by finding your WACC, right? You have to first find the WACC. That is very important. First, find the WACC, right? Find your WACC, right? So find WACC. Now, the question comes is why we need to find WACC? Because see, when you think about your a firm which has so many things going on, right? If we look at your proposition 2, which you just studied, right? And with taxes, because here tax rate is given, it's not no taxes, right? So we have to use proposition 2, because here the tax rate is given 20%. If the tax rate was not given, then we could have gone for proposition 1. But tax rate is given, we are going for proposition 2. Now, after tax cash flow here, when we look at it, right, what do we need to do? We need to understand that after tax cash flow here is, you have your 10 million per year, and then you multiply 1 minus 0.2, it makes it 8 million, right? And if I have to find unlevered firm, so you know that CF by V, right? So cash flow is 8 and it is about 100 million. So it is 8%. So your WACC here is 8%, right? That's the first step you do. Then once the first step is done, then you know that, okay, fine, first step is done. Now you have to find the value of the levered firm. VL is equal to your VU plus TD, right? VU is given 100. TD is what? Tax is 0.2. That is your 35. If it is given, this is coming out to 107, right? So 107, right? So this is also done. That, right? So your value of the leverage firm is done. Now you have to find the market value of the equity, right? Third step is find the, because after the question is asking after the debt issuance and change the capital structure, Clover's WACC is closest to what, right? So now we have to find the, again, this is not WACC. This is still your R naught, right? This is R naught which has been calculated. Please keep in mind, this is cost of equity. This R naught is cost of equity, right? This is don't get confused. We have to find WACC. We start with here. This is cost of equity. Don't get confused. Don't think, sir, we have found the WACC in the first step itself, right? This is cost of equity, right? So this is how you find the cost of equity. WACC is still need 2-3 steps, right? So keep that in mind. Just a second, guys. This hangs up for a second. Right. So now the third step is you have to find the what you say market value, right? So how do you find out the market or cost of equity, right? Basically, what am I doing, right? Basically, my idea is I want to reach here. RE is equal to your that formula which I told you, very important formula. Ultimately, my objective is to get everything which is given in that formula. RE is equal to your R naught plus your R naught minus RD, 1 minus T, and D by E. Right? I have to reach this formula. Right? So R naught is fine. R naught is calculated. Right? Then R naught minus RD. RD is already given to you. RD is given 4.5. So I know this also. Right? T is also aware. Now only thing is D already I know. D is 35. I need to find E. E. So E value is what? E value I have to find. E value if I have to find, please understand it is value of leverage firm minus D. So value of leverage firm was 107 minus D was your 35. So 72. Right? A lot of students do mistake here. They think that your equity value is 100 minus 35. No, it's not 100 minus 35. Equity value is combined value of leverage firm minus D. Right? Then you have to just substitute it, right? So when you are solving such a question, remember that this is what you're trying to find out, right? If you're right, we are trying to find out this whole thing, right? This is the idea of finding, and why we are trying to find out this question is asking WACC. Why are we trying to find out? Because again, WACC is what? If I have to find out the WACC, what is the formula of WACC? WACC is, this is lengthy question, but it clarifies your 4-5 doubts, right? So keep that in mind very clearly. WACC is your RD, WD, RD. Just a second. WD RD 1 minus T, WD RD 1 minus T, and WERE plus your WERE. Just give me a second. This is right. Okay. So please now see the question, how it is moving, right? Ultimately, the question wanted you to find out your WAC. WAC is the first formula which you studied in the first module, which was WD RD 1 minus T plus WERE. Okay. Now, when you look at the question that, okay, question is asking me WAC. Then you say, okay, RD, do I know RD? Yes, I know RD. RD is 4.5. That I know. Do I know WD, weight of WD? Okay, weight of WD, I have not much idea weight of WD because it is, you ultimately D will be dependent on your, how much the weight is, dependent on your total firm size. Na? So first we have to calculate V value of the leverage firm. So you had the debt value was 35, but you didn't know the value of the leverage firm, right? So we have to calculate VL is equal to VU plus TD, right? So 102. So you say, okay, 35 by 102. 1 minus T, you know that. T is the tax rate, you know that. WE also, you have to find out. Then also there is a confusion. How do I find WE? WE also, first you have to find equity value. That is your VL is equal to equity plus debt. So you try to find your equity value VL minus D, which is your whatever 72, etc. You find that 72 by your 107. Now, only thing is RE you don't know. To find RE, again, there is a big hassle. RE is equal to R0 plus R0 minus RD into 1 minus T, and then you have D by E. So I hope you're understanding that this RE is again, this RE, to find this RD, we have to do all this, right? So this question, first of all, you should know the structure that to find WAC, I knew WD RD 1 minus T WERE. Now here WD I have to calculate, then WD I have to find out. Then first of all, debt is given, but total value I need to find out. That's why I need to find out VL, because WD will be what? 35 by your 107, right? Similarly, WE will be 72 by 107. So I need to find out what is VL. So for WD, I need to find out VL. For WE, I need to find VL. T is given, RD is given. For RE again, I have to do the whole exercise. RE is equal to R0 plus R0 minus RD, 1 minus T, D by E. Now, R0 itself has to be found out, right? I hope you are getting my point. This R0, RE comes from R0. R0 comes from here, right? So this is a multiple steps question, right? First, there are three equations being moving, right? You need to find WAC. WAC is WD RD 1 minus T WERE. Everything else is given. RE is not given. RE is equal to R0 plus R0 minus RD 1 minus T D by E. R0 not known. R0 has to find by CF by V, right? So one step, then two step, then three step, right? So it's a detailed kind of question, but you must do this question, because if you do this question, you are not solving one question. You are solving three questions in between, right? And that's why I love CFA questions. And that's why I told you to solve CFA question also, because even if you are solving one question here, right, you're actually solving three questions here, right? And you are able to get the idea, okay, fine, right? If I don't know this, I can do this. If I don't know this, I can do this. So if you have to find WAC, you need to know RE. RE comes from R0 plus R0 minus RD, 1 minus T D by E, right? If you don't, in that you need R0. R0 comes from CF by V, right? So it's a multiple step question. Go back, and definition is very, very important, right? This question is like a gist of the topic, right? This question is not one question. This question is 3 in 1 question. The three questions in one question. If you are able to solve this question on your own, you have got the gist of the chapter, right? You have got the gist of the chapter. Okay, fine. WACC calculation is this, right? Unlevered and leverage calculation is this, right? And your Modigliani-Miller with, when calculating your RE is this, right? So this is the gist of the question. This is very, very important question.